vamos a mirar aquí la gramática 8.1, que está en el libro de texto, está en la página 274. 274. If you want to follow along, okay? So let's go through this PowerPoint. Today we're talking about preterite of stem changing verbs. So we'll go back to this first slide. As you learned in Lexion 6, AR and ER stem changing verbs have no stem change in the preterite. IR stem changing verbs, however, do have a stem change. Study the following chart and observe where the stem change occurs. So here's two stem change verbs, right? So servir in the present tense, if you remember, the E turns to an I. So you say yo sirvo, tú sirves, él sirve, nosotros servimos, y ellos sirven. So that's where a stem change here. That's in the present tense. Dormir is a stem change, an O to a UE, right? In the present tense, you say duermo, duermes, duerme, etc. Okay? So let's see what happens here in the past tense. Remember, the preterite means the past tense. So for instance, yo serví means I served, right? In the past, okay? Repita. Serví, accent over the I. Tú serviste. So far, no stem change. But look here. Usted, él, ella, sirvió. All right, so there's a stem change in the usted, él, and ella form. The nosotros form goes back to normal, servimos. And then for the ustedes, ellos, and ellas form, back to the stem change, sirvieron. Right, and you see that also happens in this verb with dormir. So you say dormí, dormiste, durmió. So the O turns to a U. Back to normal, dormimos, and then here, durmieron. Right, so we see that same pattern. This is the exact same pattern for all IR ending stem change verbs, okay? So you'll see a bunch of them listed in your textbook, and we'll see a few in the activities we're going to do shortly. So let's see what this says. Stem changing IR verbs in the preterite only have a stem change in the third person singular and plural form. So third person singular is usted, él, and ella. Third person plural are ustedes, ellos, and ellas, right? So it gives you a few examples here. The verb pedir, which is an E to an I. In the usted, él, ella form, you say pidió. In the ustedes, ellos, ellas form, pidieron. Morir is another one. Usted, él, ella murió. Ellos, ellas, ustedes murieron. But again, so that's only here. So for instance, if you wanted to say I died, you wouldn't do the stem change. You say morí, right? Morí. So you keep the O, all right? Keep that in mind. Here are a few examples. ¿Quién pidió el jamón? So notice the stem change. Yo lo pedí. No stem change because it's the yo form. And that's it. So this one's actually quite short. Let's see, what was I going to mention? Okay, so here in your textbook on page 274, we're not going to do this activity here, but the inténtalo, which you have on the super site, has all the different verbs that are IR stem change verbs, right? So here we see servir, dormir, pedir. We just saw those three verbs. We also have preferir, repetir, seguir. We saw morir. Conseguir is another one. Sentirse, right? To feel. That's a stem change, right? So you'd say él, ella, usted se sintió. Ellos se sintieron. Vestir also, right? Él se vistió. Ellos se vistieron. That means to get dressed. Let's see what other verbs are new here. That's about it. So there's not a lot, which is good. All right. So I would recommend maybe making a list of just all the verbs listed here. You can see in many of the activities they use the same verb more than once, right? So there's actually probably only about 6 or 7 total. Okay. So it's not a very common phenomenon. All right, let's do a few activities, shall we? Let's go over here. Let me close this. Vamos aquí. Yo tengo una actividad. Muy bien, so let's do this together. I'm going to actually make this nice and big so you can see it. I'm going to write the answers on a piece of paper, or on a document so you can see it spelled, okay? So Y completa las oraciones con la forma correcta del pretérito de los verbos. So all 6 of these verbs are stem changes, but the stem change only applies, again, to the third person singular and third person plural. So we'll see whether or not we have to use it, all right? But we're putting them all in the preterites according to the context. All right, so you know the drill. You can pause it before I give the answer, okay? Número 1. Nosotros les blank jugo de frutas y sopa a los camareros. Pause it. And we're back. So the verb here would be pedir, because that means order. So it would be nosotros les pedimos jugo de frutas y sopa a los camareros, right? So pedimos. No stem change. Let's look at número 2. Viviana y Emilio blank con su mejor ropa para ir a la fiesta. Pause it. And we're back. The verb obviously is vestirse, because they're getting dressed. And it's ellos, so it's third person plural. So we'd say Viviana y Emilio se vistieron. So there is the stem change. Se vistieron, right? Vistieron. Muy bien. Here we have ayer Liliana blank muy mal por la mañana. So it looks like she doesn't feel well. Hopefully she doesn't have the coronavirus. Too soon? Too soon? All right, fair enough. Too soon. Liliana, so the verb for to feel is sentirse. Sentirse. And we're talking about her, so it's third person singular. So we do use the stem change. Liliana se sintió muy mal por la mañana. So we do have the stem change there. Sintió, right? You notice the stem change is here. Just like as in vistieron, the stem change is here. All right, número 4. Mi mamá nos blank un pollo delicioso en el almuerzo. Pause it. And we're back and we'll look at the options here. Dormirse, pedir, seguir, servir, vestirse. Servir, right? The mom served that to them. So again, we have a third person singular because we're talking about mi mamá. So it would be clase sirvió, right? Sirvió. There's the stem change. Muy bien. Okay, número 5. Susana blank a las 11 de la noche. Blank a las 11 de la noche. So we only have, the only verb that would make sense here, right? You can pause it, come back. Is dormirse, right? So fell asleep. And again, we have a third person singular, Susana. So there would be the stem change. We say se durmió, right? Durmió, there's the stem change. Muy bien. Last one. Gloria blank las instrucciones de Marina para patinar sobre el hielo. Pause it. Welcome back. So the last verb that we have is seguir, which means to follow, right? So she followed instructions. Followed. We also have a third person singular, so Gloria. So there would be a stem change. Siguió. Right? There's the stem change. Siguió. And notice, of course, all the accent marks on these as well. Okay, very important. Okay, muy bien, clase. So that's basically it for this one.